I developed this recipe for an American-style gastropub. I was sworn to secrecy, but since they lost their lease several years ago and it doesn't seem like they're going to reopen again, here it is. This was a real crowd pleaser, and quite fast and easy to make once you have the marinade. A nice thing about this is that the guests can tone down the spiciness by slipping the jalapeno chili slice from the tail of the shrimp before they eat it. This is a great balance, because even though you can certainly taste the Guinness ale, you can still taste the shrimp too.
What I'm showing you here is an abbreviated, easy version of the spice mix. If and when you get volume 3 of my cookbook, you'll see the full version for this is called the Texas Spice Blend, but you have to do some cooking in order to make that, and it's too much for this video, so I'm just going to give you a quick version that'll still work. We've got the granulated onion, which is 2½ teaspoons, quite a lot of that, 1½ teaspoons of rosemary, half a teaspoon of brown sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of oregano, 3/4 of a teaspoon of cumin seeds, and about half a teaspoon of smoked paprika. And these are all going to go into a spice grinder and turned into a powder. Okay, actually I just tasted this and compared it to the original Texas Spice Blend. I'm going to add a little coarse salt to this, just over half a teaspoon, to at least bring up the salt level. There's more complexity in the real seasoning mix, but this will work okay, I think. So off camera I already peeled and deveined the shrimp. These are the shrimp. These are going to go back into the refrigerator until we're actually ready for them. These are the shrimp shells. We have jalapenos then bottled that are sliced. These are normally used for nachos. I've got some red onion I'm going to peel and cut up in a minute. This is the spice mixture we just ground, and the Guinness ale. And we're ready to begin making that marinade now. Begin by heating a saucepan. Add about a tablespoon of olive oil to it and begin cooking the shrimp shells. It's been about 2 minutes. The heat's fairly high. It's a 7, just over 7 out of 1 to 10. So you can see there's some pink now on the shells. And now I'm going to add the 30 grams of red onion, just coarsely chopped. Doesn't have to be anything precise. It's all going to get ground up later. And at 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And we're going to cook this some more, same temperature. Stir it once in a while, but don't stir it constantly, because you actually want some caramelization to take place there. If you just keep moving around all the time, that's not going to happen. So spread it out, find a good place, leave it sit for a minute. It's been just over 3 minutes now. This is starting to feel kind of dry. You can sense that. So I'm turning the heat down to medium, number 5 out of 10, and add tablespoon of that spice mix, and we're just going to cook this together for about maybe 30 seconds, and then we're going to add the other ingredients here, just to give it a little toast, kind of wake up that spice. Okay, that's enough. Now we add the Guinness and the jalapenos. And we're going to let this simmer. Remember, the heat's now down to medium. We're going to let this simmer away with occasional stirring for a little while now. After 6 or 7 minutes, you'll notice that the volume is reduced and it's thicker. This is fine. This is time to transfer it to the stick blender and puree it. And rub it through a sieve as best you can. Of course, a lot of the solids won't go through because you got shrimp shells in there. So spend a minute here passing through as much as you can. And after a minute, you realize that's all that's going to go through. Wipe the bottom of the sieve, and here's your marinade. Except we have to add the honey. So here's the honey. Stir it in. You can give it a taste, see how it is, make sure there's nothing dramatically off, but marinades are notoriously difficult to judge by taste because they're not really part of the final dish. They're very strongly seasoned in impart the flavor to the item that's being marinated in them. But this is still warm. It's too hot, and we'll start rotting the shrimp if we do that. So what I'm going to really do is stick this in the freezer for 3 to 5 minutes, cool it off, and then I'll put the shrimp in it. And when the marinade's cold, you put the shrimp in it and leave them at room temperature. Not only will this get them slightly warmer, which is good for cooking them, but it'll make the marinade work better. You don't want them too warm, of course, because they'll start rotting, but the marinade at room temperature is good. Give them a stir once in a while, make sure all the surfaces are coated. During this time, or even earlier if you can, you make up the dipping sauce. The day before is even better. This is 60 grams of mayonnaise. I already weighed out. There's the tablespoon of the spice powder. Not a tablespoon. Yeah, that's right, a tablespoon. The lemon juice. And the MSG. And you just whisk this together. Then, when the marinade time is up, you pat it dry with paper towels. Make sure you get as much of the moisture off as you can. And then we're back to this seasoning mix again. You can just put a little dab, a little bit of this on them. You don't want to, don't drown them in it. Just a little bit, like this. And now we're going to heat up a pan and begin frying them in much the same way we did the French bistro shrimp. I have a cast iron pan, very, very hot, over 450 Fahrenheit. We put a little olive oil down, and we do these in batches. Don't overcrowd the pan. The key here is you want it very, very hot. This is just a few seconds later. It's like 15 or 20 seconds on each side. Turn them up on their ends. Another 15-20 seconds, you have a bowl standing by to transfer them off to, and then you let the residual heat do the rest of it. You're only going to cook them maybe a minute, minute and a half. Very, very hot. Okay. And now in this bowl, of course, the other shrimp that'll be cooked will go over the top, and the heat from them will help cook the ones underneath more. Then you just repeat the process. Then when you've got them all cooked, you add a little bit lemon juice to this, and they're going to need a little bit more salt. And they toss like this, and then we'll plate them up.
The second volume of my cookbook is now available through Amazon and other booksellers. It covers the YouTube recipes from the last 8 months with more in-depth information. I received requests for the procedures on all recipes, and I've listened to you. Every recipe has step-by-step directions, and of course there are recipes that aren't on YouTube. But this is not just a recipe book. Far from it, as you can see from some of the topics scrolling by here. I'm certain that anyone who watches my channel and any serious cook will find this book a treasury of useful and new information you won't find anywhere else. If you want to know more about my adventures as a chef around the world and have some great laughs along the way, be sure to check out the video tour of my book, 40 Years in One Night. It's up on YouTube right now. Click the link. Also look for my cocktail book, Cocktails of the South Pacific and Beyond, Advanced Mixology, available through Amazon online.